Blessed are those who hunger and thirst for righteousness, for they will be satisfied. Well, is Jesus talking about the poor and the starving people of the world? Who's he talking about? And is righteousness the same as justice? These are our questions and topics for discussion in today's episode in Faith in Today's World. Hi, I'm Kevin Van Hall.
Hi, I'm Reverend Duke Lackey, and really good questions, Kevin.
Well, thank you, Duke, and thank you for everyone out there for joining us again this podcast. We're on episode number 36, and we are in the middle of the discussion of the Beatitudes, in Matthew chapter 5, which corresponds or is a little bit of a prelude to the Sermon on the Mount.
It's like the preamble to Jesus's Constitution. The Sermon on the Mount is at the core of who Jesus is and what Jesus is about. It cannot be ignored. It cannot be dismissed. Though Christians ignore it and dismiss it all the time. And so my thing is that we got to look at this and take it seriously.
Yeah, they do. Faith in Today's World, we're seeing that in the church today. Are the churches staying true to the gospel? Are they really following Jesus? It's easy to say, I believe in Jesus, but then we're talking about a true Christian. Do you really follow Jesus? You don't just put a cross on your neck and say, oh, I'm a Christian, and then nothing but hate comes out of your mouth.
To be satisfied with worshiping God, feeling good, and saying, okay, all is right with the world. And clearly not all is right with the world. And does the gospel have anything to address the pain and the suffering and the lack of righteousness that is taking place in the world?
Right. So 2,000 years later, it just evolves. It just changes. It just moves. It's still relevant today. All of these teachings, they are still relevant today, and this is why we're going through these. And we're kind of breaking them down a little bit better understanding, more modern translation of them. So let's recap a little bit. We start off with, blessed are the poor in spirit, for theirs is the kingdom of heaven. Blessed are those who mourn, for they will be comforted. Last week was, blessed are the meek, for they will inherit the earth. And our discussion was a little bit of, is that today's world, this earth, or the next? Because, too often we live in the next, and we should try to work in this. So the righteous, I hunger and I thirst. Duke, those are very strong desires, things natural that come to us that says your body needs food, it needs water. Okay, it's not just Jesus uses these words. He goes, you're not pining over a new wardrobe or something like this. These are very strong.
The very core foundation of what it means to be human. So Maslow's hierarchy of needs. You got to have. If you don't have enough food to eat and you're hungry all the time, all you're going to think about is how to get food. You're not going to think about what is my relationship with God? How do I relate to other people? You're not going to think about the higher human attributes. If you don't have enough food, and Jesus addresses that in the Beatitudes in Luke's gospel, that's all you're going to think about. That's how strong those needs are. And in Matthew's gospel, he talks about hunger and thirst in terms of righteousness, or hunger and thirst in terms of fairness, of how we live in this world in community. And I think it's really nice that you point that out, that the terms hunger and thirst, what a drive they are. And so this isn't just a passing addition to life. It's almost as if Jesus is saying, this is critical to our very soul.
Okay.
This is a foundational desire in the human soul.
So there's hunger and thirst in the body, where we talk food and water. And then now we're talking about really the hunger and thirst of your soul, of you, that inner being of you. Just like we talked about poor in spirit, not poor as in I don't have any money or possessions. It's the poor in spirit. So we're talking about a hunger and a thirst that's deep within our soul, not necessarily our body. And that's going to be satisfied. But that word sounds familiar, as in when I eat a lot, my belly gets full. I'm satisfied. I'm happy.
Yeah,
man.
it's like okay now. That's good. That's good. Yeah, eating breakfast is one of my it's a great joy every day to be hungry and to feel it's like yeah, this is good. This is
Oh,
really good.
I feel blessed every morning when I pour that first cup of coffee and I'm drinking that first cup of coffee and I'm sitting in my house. I'm like, man, I feel blessed. I feel good.
Yeah, that's exactly right.
I feel
And
lucky. Is that what Jesus means?
yeah, and that hunger and thirst, what is it that keeps you awake at night? What is it that just breaks your heart when you read about it on the news? What is it that just, you know, decisions that's made politically in our world, and you just get a sick sense in the stomach?
So if
You know,
you care, if you
if
have a
you
conscience,
right,
then that's what Jesus is saying. You're gonna be satisfied. You're blessed because you're gonna be satisfied. If you don't have that, if you don't hunger and thirst for righteousness, so what's the opposite, Duke?
oh wow, that's a really good question. So blessed are you who hunger and thirst for righteousness. The opposite of that would be, um, blessed are
Greedy and
you
selfish and
when you're greedy
oppressed
and
of
selfish, or you don't care about other people.
you don't care.
You have no blessed are you who have no empathy. In which in our society today, faith in today's world, there is that push that empathy is, they call it toxic empathy. I've heard that term being used. So if you're empathetic, then you're weak, or you're a snowflake, or you're wasting our time. And so there is this push in our society where empathy is seen as a bad thing.
Just like
And that
meekness is seen. And we said last week, meekness does not mean weakness.
right, and that goes back to a previous podcast of the unforgivable sin, to say that the things of God are evil and that evil are the things of God.
Yeah.
If that's where you stand, there's no relationship with God. And
Right.
there's really no relationship with others, especially people you other. And so, the Beatitudes are really a foundation of who Jesus is and what Jesus is all about. And I think we need, as we look at the Beatitudes, we need to remember the life, example, and teachings of Jesus, because there's an authenticity in Jesus. He he lines up.
Yes.
He lines up with these things.
So we talk. One of the questions I asked in the beginning, righteousness for justice, and we've already alluded to that. When I'm hungering and thirsting my soul for righteousness, to me, I equate that to that righteous relationship with God. We talked about it before, that reconciliation with God. Be right with God, be morally and ethically correct, that personal inner feeling
Right.
versus a justice that I want to see is more of a external application of fairness. Is what is one way of equality or wrongs
Right.
being righted, and it's an action after the fact. And I don't know if Jesus is he talking about one or the other or both or all in the
Right.
same. I mean, righteousness is
Yeah.
kind of interchanged with justice. Kind of like, do you ever like the old story? Grandma say, "I'm sick and tired of you doing this." Can you ever say sick without saying tired? I mean,
That's right.
it's always sick and tired.
Right.
Is it ever
Yeah.
just I'm tired or I'm sick?
You've taken it way too far. I'm just I'm sick and tired.
Sick and tired. We're at the top level. We're at number 10 now.
Right. Yeah, and I think that's where Jesus is. I think when they asked Jesus, what's the great commandment?
Oh,
Love the Lord your God with all your heart, soul, mind, and strength, and love your neighbor as you love yourself. And I think Jesus is forever tied loving God and loving neighbor as the same. It's the same thing. The scripture, James says, someone who's hungry, and you say, "Well, go and be well. God be with you," but you don't feed them. What good have you done? And so that the tying of loving God and loving our neighbor that Jesus has done, I think for our own sake, we try to just separate those, because I can't feed all the hungry people. I can't I can't create justice for everybody who's experiencing injustice today. For people who are of color, who speak a different language, who are being arrested simply because they have color, or speak a different language without due process. Boy, Kevin, that I hunger and thirst for righteousness. I I intentionally try not to think about it so I can sleep at night. I intentionally distract myself from these things that are taking place in today's world because I see Jesus suffering. I see Jesus being arrested, put in concentration camps. I see Jesus um, just being nailed to a cross unjustly. So that hunger and thirst for righteousness is I don't think it's either or. I think it's both and.
Both. Okay.
This fella John Deere, who's a lifelong social justice person, he sees a better interpretation as justice as opposed to righteousness. I should know the Greek. I'm a preacher, but I don't. That was not in my bailiwick. We need Alex here.
We do.
We need Alex for that clarification. But John Deere said, resist systemic, structured, institutionalized justice with every bone in your body. And I can't imagine what it's like to be a Hispanic person today, driving to work, driving to the store, and seeing a police officer or seeing a person dressed in battle gear with a face mask on being ICE. I just, what's it like to be them? To
I
be an
don't know.
American citizen, minding your own business, and that they can come in and arrest you until you prove that you're an American. It's that sense of injustice. It's cruel.
Mm-hmm.
It's absolutely cruel.
Yeah. So
I hunger and thirst for righteousness, that they're being treated with justice. They're being treated right.
To being treated right, just. So when you're looking for that justice, then it's kind of what I'm seeing. You're looking also for God in a righteous relationship, because can you really act or applaud those kind of actions when you see that's obviously not just, but then you think that you're right with God? I'm going to put that in the category. There's your self-righteousness. You made yourself in your own mind and your own opinion that you're right with God,
Yeah.
but you're really not. So blessed are the ones that are really hungry and thirst for that righteousness with God, but you're going to be satisfied. Your other self-righteous people that are claiming to be Christians and you're not acting Christ-like, I don't think you're going to be blessed and satisfied. I don't know.
Yeah,
Maybe
yeah.
it's me.
So that's the whole ego. Am I in line with God, or have I shaped Jesus and God to be in line with me? That's the spiritual discipline. That's the challenge we face. Am I aligning my life with the teachings and example of Jesus, or am I adjusting the teachings and example of Jesus? And again, I think people on any side of the argument can point to the other side and say, "You're just aligning Jesus with what you believe." So again, humility, the meekness, that is an absolute critical um, uh, way of being in this world to align ourselves with Jesus. To know that, when Jesus separates the sheep from the goat, if I'm going, sheep over here, Jesus, you don't need to judge me, I'm right. That's not a good place to be because I'm not being honest with myself. There's some part in my life where I'm blind to myself, and I'm happy being blind to myself. And the sense of living in community, the sense of living and listening to people who are marginalized. I just think that is a critical spiritual formation piece, especially as a white man. Um, uh, I've had a lot given to me simply because of who I am in my physical body. And to listen to people who don't have my physical body, women, people of color, I think that is a critical part of my spiritual formation. They see the world differently, and I need to pay attention to how they see the world. And I'm thinking they see the world a little more accurately than I do.
Yeah. How are you seeing the world today? Do you have blinders on? What kind of glasses are you wearing? All of a
Right.
sudden, woke is turned into a big word. It just means awakened. It's just woke.
It's a
It,
it's a core value of Jesus. How many times does
you've
he say
wakened.
wake up?
Now you see, you're awakened, and you see some of the injustices that are going on in the world. And are you choosing to, if you're woke, that means you see them versus choose to ignore them. You're not woke. Some people just hate that word, and they don't even
Right.
understand what it
So
means.
the reason I believe, I may be wrong, let me humbly acknowledge this, but the term woke, rather than wake up, the term woke came out of the black church.
Yeah, it's a bicultural word.
It's a
Yes.
black cultural word. And so the white supremacists have to undo that word. They have to make that word a negative. Uh, Black lives matter. Well, when police are killing black people just for a police stop, it's black lives. They need to know. We need to be reminded that that doesn't mean anybody else's life doesn't matter. It means there's an injustice taking place among black men who are being pulled over by the police. Now, that doesn't happen everywhere, but if it's 1% or 10%, that's way too much. And to be able to speak into that is to help people to wake up. This is what's happening. Let's wake up. Let's stop this.
Mm-hmm.
But
So
then
there's all
there's
kinds of corruption. You could be woke, and you could
right.
see the capitalism, the companies or health insurance companies that are
Yes.
raking in record profits at the same time that they
Raising
are
rates,
denying claims for people,
benefits. Yes.
and saying that, oh no, the healthcare system is fine. There's nothing wrong with our healthcare system. You're blind, and if you see that there's something wrong with our healthcare system, and wow, other nations, you're aware of how other nations can have universal health care and they can make
Yeah.
it work
That's
just
right.
fine, then you might be woke. But
Right.
so it's not always necessarily a racial thing as well. It's just take
Yeah. But it
off the
did.
blinders and
Right.
take a look at your relationship with God. Are you in a just relationship with God? We've
Right.
talked about this humbly with God. Justice, righteousness. Righteousness is the concept that centers on the personal virtue, your own moral compass that comes from God. And if you
Right.
hunger and thirst for
That's a good
that,
point. Right. So the hunger and thirst for righteousness is the sense that, okay, I want to live a righteous life. I want to be in alignment with God. That's a great desire to have. But the beatitude who hunger and thirsts for righteousness, there's a righteousness of God that God is seeking for us to live into. It comes
okay.
from God. And so to understand that this righteousness is not of my own making, but this righteousness is a spiritual thing. In my aligning, my opening myself to God's grace, God's work in me, so that God can work in me that alignment. And so spirituality understands that I am broken to a point that I can't fix myself. I can't fix what's wrong in the world. But the invitation is to align ourselves with the work that God is doing in the world. And just honestly, God's not doing it as fast as I wanted to God do. God's not doing it as as forcefully as I would like God to do it. Again, that's a Duke problem. um, but to align myself with the truth that is true in all times, in all places, throughout all of history. Love is true at all times and all places throughout all of history. And we believe that Jesus teaches us that we have access to that love.
Mm-hmm.
And so there is that personal spiritual alignment with God uh, that takes place with poor in spirit, with empty hands,
Yeah. Yes.
receiving. And so that receiving turns into concrete action in how I live in this world today.
Yeah. So Jesus is trying to tell us, just like we said before, what does God want from us in the past episodes? Wants us to walk humbly with Him. He wants us to believe in Him, love His neighbor. He also wants us to trust Him. It will happen, just not necessarily on our
Our
terms
times, right?
and our
Right.
time. And it's hard to see. I've got a little excerpt here I wanted to read from Proverbs 21. When you said, when you equate literally. You see righteousness and justice the same as love God, love your neighbor. In Proverbs, which is our wisdom book, versus the Psalms, a lot of people want to say,
that's a prayer
is
book.
a prayer book. In 21, verse 21, the Proverbs says, he who pursues righteousness and love finds life, prosperity, and honor. So it's that hunger and thirst for it. You're pursuing it, I guess it's Solomon, who probably wrote Proverbs, tells us that it's the pursuit of righteousness and love. That it goes together, and that you will find it, just like Jesus promises. If you really truly hunger for that righteousness and justice, you will be satisfied. Now, those that don't, unforgivable sin, I don't know if they're going to be resurrected or not. I don't know if they're going to see it. Again, dude, that's above our pay grade, is it not?
That is above our pay grade. And again, Jesus was Jewish. Let's remember that Jesus was Jewish. The Hebrew Bible was his Bible. The Old Testament was his Bible. And the sense of that God is working in this world right now, that is a Hebrew Jewish understanding. Blessings and curses took place here and now. And I think Jesus lives out of that. But we do see injustice in the world. So we know it doesn't happen in this world. So the hope that we have is that there's going to be some justice in the next world if it doesn't happen in this world. And that's where the concepts of heaven and hell have taken such a strong hold. My sense of living faithfully in today's world is not just to leave it to that. I don't have much power. I don't have much influence. But whatever power influence I do have, whatever capital I have, I should use that to help those who are marginalized, who are oppressed, who are hungry, who are imprisoned, which is Jesus' mission statement. Real quick, I want to tell a story. Samuel Proctor told a story. He was a pastor, preaching professor, scholar. He went to speak at Furman University. And he was walking with the president before the speech, and he saw this giant of a man and a little person holding hands walking across campus. And he looked at him. He said, "I don't mean to," but that's it's an odd sight. And he said, "Yeah." He goes, "They're brother and sister. He's a star football player. He was recruited by all of the major universities in America. But that's his twin sister. His twin sister was born with genes that were different than his, and so she's a little person, and she has some learning disabilities. And he said, "I'm not going to go to a college that won't accept my sister." And all the major universities that wanted him to play football for them wouldn't allow the sister to come in. But Furman says, "Yeah, we'll create a curriculum for her and let her be." And so he went and spoke to this football player, and he said, "Why do you do that?" He goes, "I've got," and he used the term, which I think is important, "I have capital. I have something that people want. And because I have something that people want, I'm able to use that to be a blessing to my sister. And I'm going to do that." So instead of playing for Alabama or playing for Ohio State or Duke, he went to Furman University. And I just think that's a wonderful image to live with. What capital, what assets do I have where I can be a blessing to someone else? And to me, that fulfills the righteousness, if you want to think of righteousness as fulfilling the law. And it's also a righteousness of fulfilling justice, taking care of someone who doesn't have the advantages that I happen to have. And so that's kind of how personally I'm trying to navigate the world we're living in. And I'm not doing a very good job, I want you to know, trying to figure out, what are the assets that I have? And one of the assets I have now, not serving a church, is time. And I can't quite figure out how to best use my assets for those that are least, last, and lost in our community. And I'm still trying to discern that from my life. in this world.
Well, Duke, you're blessed, because that's what Jesus says, because you do hunger for thirst in righteousness. So you are.
Yeah, I'm looking for the satisfaction.
Yeah, you're blessed, but you just want to see results,
Right.
and immediate, and that's a trait of just being human, or just living in today's world where we want that instant access, immediate gratification.
And as a male, I want to fix things. If there's a problem, I want to fix it. I don't want to worry about it. I want to get it done. I want to fix it. And these things are beyond my fixability. I can't fix these things. And of course, it's, what does that say about who I think I am? My need for humility, my need for to turn to God humbly for grace, because I think things should be like I want them to be, which is a narcissistic, not healthy place to be. But can I turn that into trust that God is working? And can I place my trust there?
Yes. So last little bit here as we start wrapping up today's episode, I keep trying to find out where I got this from, and I cannot find the actual author of this. But he defines righteousness is the character trait, and justice is the behavior trait.
Okay.
So they go hand in hand. It's that personal need, soul searching to be in right relationship with God, righteousness, right relationship with God, moral, and have that moral integrity inside. And then it's that now you need to act upon it with that outward justice,
right,
righteousness, and serve and do God. And we are promised from Jesus that those who do will be blessed, because we will be satisfied. And just like those in poor in spirit and those who meek will inherit the earth. Next week, as we continue our discussion in our study here on the Beatitudes, we'll continue on and talk about the merciful.
Yeah, offering mercy. Are we offering toxic mercy? Or are we offering mercy?
So what's
is there such a thing as toxic mercy? I don't know.
I don't know. Is a mercy coming? Is it mercy in the sense that what we think mercy is, or the mercy that God expects us to show? There might be a difference there. I don't know.
I want mercy, or do I want what I deserve? That's not a hard question for me to answer.
It's not. It's not. Oh, it's true. It's true. But also, but what about my neighbors? Do I want them to receive mercy?
That I've received.
That I'm receiving. That I want to receive the mercy, but I don't want them to receive the mercy.
Yeah. Can I offer what there's parables about that. So we'll have a good discussion next week.
So please join us next week as we continue our discussion of Beatitudes. So until then, Duke, what? It's never too late
to do the right thing.
Yeah, righteousness.
Amen.
Don't give up on justice and righteousness. So until then, goodbye, everyone.
Peace.